All right, class, welcome back. This is day 2 of Fusion on the Drafting 154 class. We're going to recap a little bit about what we discussed yesterday and show you a little bit different method, getting more towards the parametric style of drawing where everything is constrained and dimensioned, where it can be very easily modified. And I'm going to show you how what we did yesterday can be a lot quicker as our next step in progression. So if you're going to Open Fusion and you see this is our main screen here, I just had to do an update. These right here showed that I had an update due. If you see that, make sure you go and download it so that all of our screens remain the same. Everything is up to date. So there's no differences between what I'm doing and what you're doing. All right, so what we're going to do today is we're going to show you how these constraints work. And we'll go from there. So we've just opened Fusion. This should be the screen you see. Remember, my data panel is up here. If you follow the mouse to the top left, I can see my folders and what we've done so far. We'll turn that off just to make my screen bigger. And remember, rule number 1 in Fusion, always save first. So what we're going to do today is we're going to save. We're going to call this day 2. Just call it day 2 block. So just make sure your drawing is saved. Once you do your drawing for the day, I'll give you the name at the end of the video. Hit save. Notice that day 2 block, or whatever the name of your file is, will show up here. Remember to change your units if necessary. We are going to use millimeters today. That's fine, so you can leave them there. And again, we're in part design. This is going to be your default settings. So yesterday, to recap, we talked about how to start a sketch. So, and this is your beginning screen. We've saved everything. We come up here to the top left and notice that we have the create sketch. So we click on that and it brings up our 3 planes. So we can have notice my view cube has reorientated itself. There we go. You have the top view, you have the front view, you have the right side view. Once you do create sketch, you get this, pick a plane. We're going to start from the top view. Notice it says top right here in the top right corner. So we know we're in the right spot. Now yesterday I showed you 2 methods of starting a sketch, just to show you how the line features work and then how your shape features work, how to shorten things up. Today we're going to do it, but we're going to do it with the constraints. These right here, we're going to show you what they mean. So to recap real fast, if I wanted to draw a square, a 100 by 100 square, the first method I showed you is we clicked on line. We came to the origin because we want to always start at the origin in some way, shape, or form. Make sure the blue box appears. And then we kept the blue parallel line. We typed in 100. And then we made another line vertical. Make sure the blue square is showing up between the 2 meets there, meaning it's at 90 degrees. Type in 100 again. And the top line, again, perfectly flat, 100. And then came back down until we met the origin. It shades in the blue color, meaning it's enclosed. All the lines are black, meaning they are constrained. Now what I want you to see is notice this little symbol right here. And this is the perpendicularity symbol. Notice there's one here and there's one there. By making sure those little blue boxes, like the one that just appeared under the 90 degrees there, it is telling me that the drawing is constrained at 90 degrees. What we're going to do today is draw the same object, but instead of letting them appear this way, we're going to use the constraints that's on the toolbar. So I'm going to start over. We'll go back and undo everything. And a lot of your drawing is going to be done like this. It's going to feel weird at first, but it actually makes it a lot faster in the end for more complicated drawings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on a line, click the origin, and I'm just going to run out in space just anywhere and everywhere and draw a rough square. Obviously that does not look like a square whatsoever. None of the links are correct, none of the angles are correct, but this is where the constraints come in. So what these are going to do is set perpendicularity, parallelism, vertical and horizontal axes, and we're going to create all of those features with our constraints. Now, the first thing I want is this bottom line right here to be parallel with the x-axis right here. And we're going to use this horizontal vertical constraint. So we click on that, and when I click this line, what it's going to do is it's going to go to the closest either horizontal or vertical axis. So when I do that, notice it's now parallel with the x-axis, and it's also black, meaning I've constrained it, even though it doesn't specifically have a length. So that's created the bottom of my square. Now, the next one I'm going to use is the perpendicularity constraint. So when I click on this, and I'm going to go in the corner, and I want to make this line that we drew on the bottom, which we've now made parallel to the x-axis, perpendicular or 90 degrees to this vertical line here. So when I click these two, notice there's that symbol again saying this is at 90 degrees and it is constrained. And I'm going to do that on all the corners. So I'm going to come up here. I want these two to be at 90. Notice it appears one more time, and then these two. And now notice that I have this square, and these little symbols popped up again, but I did it in a slightly different method. So this is using my constraints. Now, if you can tell, we have a rough square, but there's no dimensions. So we're going to hit Escape, and then we're going to go to Create Sketch Dimension, or if you notice, we can type the letter D. So we click on that, and what I want to do is click on this line at the bottom, bring it down, and notice that it says 120 because that's just randomly how it failed. So when I place the line just by clicking the screen, I can type in 100, and notice that it changed not only the length of this line but also this one because everything is at 90 degrees. So in order for these constraints to remain the same, they all had to move together. Now, because this is a square, there's two ways I can do the next part. I can also dimension this line. So I click on it, I drag off to the right, I click the screen, type in 100, hit enter, and notice I now have my 100 by 100 square. The other option, since this is a square, is I can go to our constraints. It's actually this one right here, but it's the equal constraint. And I can say I want this line and this line to be the same. And notice this is now a perfect square that is 100 by 100. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to escape, and notice what happens if I go back and change the dimension. It stays a square regardless of what I typed in because these corners have to remain at 90 degrees and these lengths have to remain equal. So therefore it has to move at the same time. So now I have one dimension I have to change to make this drawing go through, or change one dimension to change the whole drawing's size. So this was the original drawing from yesterday. It was 100 by 100. So now I have that 100 by 100 square. And I can either hit Finish Sketch or press the letter E because I'm going to do an extrude. And when I do that, I'm going to orientate my screen here. We'll click on the square, and then I'm going to pull up. Remember, I always like to use the arrows, and then I can type in my number. It is going to be 20 this time, but I'll type in 20, hit enter, and there is our cube from the last time. So I wanted you to see how the constraints work by going through and placing the perpendicularity constraint, the horizontal vertical constraint, and the equal constraint. And you see there are others that we will use later on. We will use the coincident constraints later in parallel. But this is a fast way of doing it. There is a shaft we're going to draw later, probably in a week or two, that has multiple bearing races on it, and we're going to just throw lines on the screen, use our constraints to create our parallel angles and our perpendicularity angles, and then we'll be able to revolve it, and you'll see how these make things a lot faster. You should also notice, just in these 2 short days, there are a lot of ways to make a drawing. We can do it with lines, as we did here. We can use the constraints, or we can use the original blue boxes. We can also use the shape features, so we could have just hit the square and done it all in one shot. That would have worked too. So there's a lot of different ways you can do it, and depending on what you are drawing and your style as to which one is going to be the most accurate and the fastest. And you will, as you progress through this, you will feel whichever way works best for you. Now, I also mentioned yesterday to always start a drawing around the origin. We use the origin to help us out a whole lot. And if you remember from yesterday, we put a hole in this plate, right smack in the center. And we wanted it to stay in the center regardless of everything else that happened. And I want to show you a way we can use the origin today to draw this same plate and make it really easy to put that hole in the center. So I'm going to undo everything. We'll go back out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create in the drop down menu. We're going to come down to rectangle, and I want to do the center rectangle feature. And what this is going to do is I'm going to place the center point of the rectangle and then pull away, and it's going to give me my shape based around a center point. So when I click on that, and I'm going to come to my origin, click my origin, and then notice as I pull away, the origin is at the complete center of this square. And you'll see the two dimensions are popping up. We have the 106.368 on the left side of the square, and we have the 88.262 on the top. While the 106 is highlighted blue, I'm going to type in 100, and then without hitting enter, hit tab, the tab button, and it flips to the other dimension, and I type in 100 again, and hit enter. Notice that all the lines are black. All of the lines are fully constrained. Notice my parallel, equal, and vertical, horizontal constraints are all there automatically. But what's really important is notice my square is centered around the origin. So now to put that hole in the middle, I just come up to the top to where the circle is. You can go to create, circle, center, diameter. It's the same one that's right here on the top. We're going to do a center diameter circle, and all I have to do is click the origin. Notice the blue box. We want to make sure that it is latched on to that point, and then as I drag away, if we remember from yesterday, it was 40 millimeters. So we type in 40, and now that hole is already in the center of the square, and I don't really have to work hard to do it. And if I change these dimensions, let's say I make that 50, and I make this 50, that hole stays right smack in the center. So this is a good way of using the origin to your advantage. And notice I'm changing two dimensions right here. If I wanted to make this square, what I could just say is I want this one to be equal to this one. And it's saying it's over constrained. You see the arrow down here at the bottom. It means I've already told it I want it to be 100. Let's see if it'll let us delete this one. Notice it went blue. That means it's no longer constrained on there. I'm going to hit equals here and here. Hit escape. And then if I type in 50, there it goes. Notice how I'm back to the one dimension change for the whole square object. So let's go back to 100. So now I have a 100 by 100 square because I have set these two equal to each other. And then the origin has now set the hole for the complete center. Also notice, yesterday we drew the square, extruded it, made a plate, and then we drew a hole on it and extruded it through. Here I'm in the very first sketch. I already have a hole, I already have the square, and when I hit finish sketch and extrude, and I only click this outer portion. So notice the outer portion is blue. If I go to the hole, I can go to the outer portion. I click on this one part, I pull my arrow up, I type in 20, and I just made that same plate from yesterday in one step. If I go down, follow down to the left, the bottom left, notice we'll see sketch 1, which is the single sketch that I had, and one extrude, and I made the object just like we did yesterday a lot faster. So that is one way that we use the origin to help keep things aligned. So it's very, very good to use the origin to your advantage in that way when you're starting a sketch. And sometimes you'll want to use it as a corner, sometimes you want to use it as a center. You will see as you make different drawings which one's going to fit and feel the best. So that is a way to use the constraints and a way to use the origin. That's what I wanted you to see in today's video. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to back up, and I want you to follow along with me, and we're going to make this drawing. So remember, you're starting at the very beginning. So the very first thing I want you to do is hit the save button, give it a name, make sure the name pops up here. Do make sure when you hit save, I'll tell you what, we'll just go on and run through it. So let's say, alright, so we have unsaved. We're starting just like you are. So first thing we do is we hit save. Make sure that you're in the DFT 154 summer, and then your name should appear here. Give it a name. So day 2 block, and we'll just call this V2. Hit save. That should pop up right here. We're going to leave it at millimeters part design. That's fine. So the very next thing is we're going to do a create sketch. So this is in the top left up here to screen plus. Click on that, and we're going to select the XY plane. So notice it's gray, and that's going to give me a top view. That's what we're looking for. And I'm going to go to create, drop down menu to rectangle, and then in this menu we'll come down to center rectangle. I'm going to place the center at the origin, make sure the blue box appears so that you have latched on to that origin part. And then I click it and then drag away. And as I drag away, you'll see the square appear. And I can type in my dimensions at this point, or if I want, I can just click the screen. Notice there are no dimensions present. And what I want to use is my 2 constraints. So hit escape. So if you notice right beside my cursor, you still see the center rectangle feature. That's what it's trying to do. So we hit escape, and then I'm going to hit D. And the reason I'm going to hit D, if we do the create, come down here, sketch dimension, D is the shortcut. Hopefully you've printed off the shortcut sheet and it's sitting beside your computer. So we can either click this, or I want you to get in the habit of using shortcuts to make things faster. So we press the letter D. Notice now the dimension symbol has popped up on my cursor. I'm going to click this edge. Now I could go point to point, that's fine, but I'm going to click the edge because that in this case is going to work better. So see it's highlighted blue, click it, and then drag off to the left. Just place my dimension, click again, and then I'm going to type in 100. Now this side has been dimensioned, but that side hasn't. It's a square. I want them to be equal, so what I'm going to do is hit escape, and I'm going to use the equal constraint right here at the top. You could also click on constraints and come down here to equal. That's fine too. So I'm going to click that, and I'm going to say I want this side and this side to be equal. And now I have a perfect 100 by 100 square. Every time you're in a feature, make sure you hit escape to get out of it. So notice below my cursor still showing the equal constraints. We're going to hit escape, and then we're going to draw a circle right in the middle. So we're going to hit create and do circle, and then a center diameter circle. That means you're going to select the center of it, and then we're going to specify a diameter. And then we'll go to the origin. Notice the blue square appears, meaning I'm locked onto the center. I click once, drag the mouse outward, and then I'm going to type in my 40 millimeter diameter and hit enter. If you have the blueprint class, you should recognize this symbol right here, this diameter symbol in front of the 40. Depending on what feature you're using, sometimes it'll try to do a radius instead of a diameter, so just pay close attention to that. Now I have my overall profile of the square 100 by 100, and I have the center circle of 40 by 40. So I'm going to come up here to the top right, hit finish sketch, and then I'm going to do extrude. Now the shortcut for that is E. If you'll notice the screen that just popped up shows extrude and then parentheses E. And then I want to click only the outside, so not inside the circle, but the outside square. When I click that, and then I'll drag my arrow up. I'm going to exaggerate a little bit just so you can see. Notice my distance box here, and just type in 20. And there we go. That was an easy way to put a hole in the center and draw a perfect 100 by 100 square. Now, if I wanted to modify this, this is where the parametric sizes come in. All I got to do is come down here to the bottom left, click on the original sketch. I'm going to double click it, and it goes back into that sketch mode. Let's say, well, I didn't want it to be 100 by 100. I want it to be 80 by 80. So I type in 80, and then when I hit finish sketch, it automatically updated the drawing. And do it again, edit sketch, let's say we change it to 60. And then when I hit finish sketch, notice it's updated a second time. So this is where parametric drawings come in very handy. They're easy to modify. Draw it, I sketch it. I found out, well, that's not quite the way I want it. I want to make it a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. It's really easy to modify. So I'm going to put it back to the 100. And then hit finish sketch. Now while we're here, I want to show you two other modify features. So notice we're out of the sketch mode. We're back to the solids toolbar up here at the top. And I want to show you what a fillet is and what a chamfer. So if we click on modify, those are two of the top ones that come up. Fillets round off edges or corners, and chamfers create a angle. So if you can imagine, let's assume this plate right here had a bolt going through it that had a flathead, so it had a tapered angle to it. I can click on modify, chamfer, and then I'm going to hover over to make sure, see the circle just went black. So as I come across the top of the part and I come over to this edge, notice that little circle went black. That means I can select it. And then it's going to ask me for a distance. And let's say I want a, let's say 2 millimeter chamfer. So I type in 2, hit enter, and notice it is now chamfered that part. And if I wanted to edit this, let's say I want it to be a little deeper, I'm going to come down here to the bottom left, double click it, and now that screen pops back up. And let's say I want to make it 5 millimeters. So that's more like a screw taper. So that is a chamfer. It basically creates an angle. You will also know, I'm going to go back and edit it one more time. So we're going to come down here to the timeline, double click the chamfer, and you'll notice that we're in the equal distance. I have equal distance, two distances, and a distance and an angle. I could have modified those in different ways. If we gave two distances, it's asking me for two different ones, so I could say I want 3 by 5. Or I can say I want 5 by 8. And it's changing the angle of this chamfer. Most chamfers are going to be 45 degrees, so they're going to be the equal distance, but there are multiple ways of doing it. If I come down here and click on the two distance drop down, and I could do a distance and an angle. And let's say I want 5 millimeters and I want a 45 degree. Or maybe I want a 30 degree. So you can do them in multiple ways. There's a lot of different ways in Fusion to do it, depending on how the drawing specifies is the way you're going to use. I'm going to change this back to equal distance, and then I'm going to hit OK. So there's my chamfer. Now the other one is the fillet. So we come back up to the modify toolbar, click the drop down menu, and then come down here to fillet. And this is going to round an edge or a corner. So we're going to click on that. And let's say I want to click on these edges. I'm going to click them all. So I'm going to come around and click that one. I'm going to do this one, and this one. And then I'm going to come over to where my radius is. And let's say I want a 2 millimeter radius. Actually, we're going to exaggerate that. Let's make it a 4. And you can see how it has rounded the edges off. So that is a fillet. And you can also do the edges here too. It should create a rolling ball effect. Type in the 4. And notice it's actually rounded the corner also. So that is a fillet and a chamfer. Two very useful tools. Alright, so I hope that gave you an idea on using constraints. We'll use them more and more as we go through. Using the origin to help with centering objects or placing objects, and then how to use the chamfer and fillet features. So if you have followed along at this point, once you get to here, just hit save. And once you hit save, it should automatically update into your data panel. You should see it pop up in your folder. And once you do that, you'll be good to go. Alright, thanks, and I will see you in the next video.